Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heave is gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. Ja Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies lost to the Dallas Mavericks on Monday night. They fell to 1-10 at home. They wasted a 41-point performance from Jaren Jackson Jr., and now we just check off another box for the games remaining on Ja Morant's suspension. We're down to 3. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about the loss to the Mavericks that was honestly really interesting. For me, at least. There's some losses that are just like dispiriting and not much to say, which is what the previous game against the Timberwolves felt like. This one, I mean, they changed the starting lineup. They shuffled around the rotation. They let Vince Williams Jr. and Luka Doncic get into it in the fourth quarter. So for whatever reason, I found it a little bit more interesting. I'll get into all of that. Before I do, just a reminder, if you want to support the creation of this show, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. A big thanks to Chip Crane and Joseph Crane. Both signed up for the Patreon on Monday. If you want exclusive bonus content, if you want to join the listener Slack channel, if you want to join the Grits and Grinds Slack channel, do all of that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, this loss to the Mavericks was not close. The Mavericks, despite not having Kyrie Irving, despite not having Grant Williams, despite not having Josh Green and Tim Hardaway Jr., easily handled the Grizz. Yeah, the Grizz made a little fake, all NBA teams make a fourth quarter rally to get a little bit closer. Like the Grizzlies made a little bit of a push in the fourth. They had an 11-0 run that cut it to like 10 or something. They got within 7 in the final minute, but it was never in doubt. Basically, it just stayed close enough where Luka Doncic had to stay on the court. The Grizzlies got very little from the supporting cast in this one. And I think the frustrating thing, one of the main frustrating themes of the season is, look at the other team's supporting cast. Like, let's read the names of players that played heavy minutes for the Mavericks. We're talking about Dante Exum. We're talking about rookies Derek Lively and Omax Prosper. We're talking about AJ Lawson. Seth Curry and Markieff Morris were dusted off. And just having Luka Doncic, I guess, was enough for the Grizzlies to fall way short. Luka finishes with 35 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. He has now beaten the Grizzlies 10 out of the last 11 times he's played them. The Grizzlies cannot beat Luka. And in this game, I think it was maybe a little bit more frustrating because of the supporting cast of the Mavericks, where you're like, we should be able to beat those guys. Then you look at the supporting cast of the Grizzlies, where the only player outside of Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. to score in double digits was Vince Williams Jr., who had 10 points, and he scored all 10 of those points in the fourth quarter. You guys know I love Vince Williams Jr., but basically all of Vince's points, glorified garbage time. I don't know if cleaning the glass is going to classify it as garbage time because they got back within 7 eventually, but the game was over. No one outside of Jaren or Desmond could score. In the first half, nobody besides Jaren or Desmond had more than 3 points. So that, I think, a definite source of frustration. Also, the defensive effort for the Grizzlies was lackadaisical at times. Taylor Jenkins was screaming at the players on the sidelines. There's a lot of social media clips, people filming Taylor Jenkins yelling at the team in the huddle. He kept calling timeouts, trying to stop runs, trying to get somebody to guard Dante Exum. Please don't let Dante Exum drive straight to the bucket and dunk it with no one getting in his way. This is a guy, I think, played in Serbia last year. So it was a rough performance in a lot of ways for the Grizzlies. The only player who, we're not going to criticize, I guess there's two. Not a lot of criticisms for Jaren and Desmond. Those guys combined for 69 points. Jaren Jackson Jr. had 41 points. That's the second most points he's ever had in a game, behind his career high 43 points. Obviously, that's a season high. Jaren had a career high 15 made field goals. Also had a career high 29 field goals attempted. He made 6 out of 10 3-pointers. This is now 4 straight games where Jaren's made 50% or better from the field. He demonstrated the offensive arsenal I was talking about last episode. He's being very strong in the post. Whenever he has a mismatch, he is scoring comfortably, scoring over smaller guys. He's using both hands. If I remember correctly, he had several right-handed finishes in this game. So Jaren gives you 41, and then we'll just whisper, had 4 rebounds. But Jaren gives you 41, and as it's been the whole season, no one can really step up, and I don't know how to blame the injuries. Sure, the injuries are a massive, huge part of the Grizzlies' issues, but I still don't think the rest of the roster should be this bad, this regularly. I think to juice the offense, to help the offense out, they moved Bismack Biyombo out of the starting lineup and started Santi Aldama. If you've been listening to all episodes of Grits and Grinds, I'm on board with that. I felt like Bismack's really been laboring over the past several games, and it's all right, let's try something else. Well, Santi in the starting lineup wasn't quite the kick in the pants the team needed. He actually finished with fewer minutes played than he normally gets when he comes off the bench. So that was kind of bizarre. He had 6 points. He did, make some steals, get some blocks, had 3 assists. But Santi didn't really give you that offensive punch. Then the second unit, because of starting Santi, was quite odd. That meant you had Bismack Biyombo and Xavier Tillman coming off the bench, 2 centers who can't play together or who they won't play together. I'm not saying they should play together, but that meant you had to stagger those guys a little bit differently. And it also meant you had a second unit lineup where you had Vince Williams Jr., John Conchar, and Bismack all on the court at the same time. They did fine, but that's 3 total non-scorers. That's kind of a risk. And I think because of that, you saw them switch it up in the game. You saw them use 11 players in the first half. They put Zaire Williams in the game as the 11th man at the end of the second quarter. And I'm not opposed to it. I understand it. You got to have somebody who can score. And they tried Jalen Noel in the first half. That's another storyline from this game. Jalen Noel played in the first half, did not score, and then did not play again. He got a DNP in the second half. I think we can all kind of read into that. That is a preview of things to come. Jalen Noel is not going to be on this team by the end of the week. The Wednesday night game against the Rockets, I believe that's the last game he's eligible on his 10-day contract to play for the Grizzlies. You're not going to move heaven and earth and or Jake LaRavia to make a roster spot for Jalen Noel. He's not going to save your season. And also you have bigger priorities. You got to keep Bismack, and you got to eventually add Vince Williams Jr. to the regular roster. So I think whatever, they went away from Jalen Noel. He didn't play a minute in the second half. They're we got to just play Zaire. I don't know. I like to imagine maybe Taylor Jenkins got a text from somebody in the organization. It's hey, man, just a reminder, Jalen Noel isn't going to be here next week. Zaire's going to be here next year. I mean, unless there's a big trade. But maybe just whatever. Is the difference that much that you don't play Zaire? So they put in Zaire. He had a hilarious introduction to the game. His basically first possession made a Shaqtin' a Fool highlight clip. He tried to throw a pass to Santi Aldama, which got batted back to him. And then for whatever reason, it seemed like he thought the shot clock was running down. For whatever reason, he tries a kind of difficult step back 3-pointer with a man in his face, and it hits the top of the backboard, total air ball. And it was what was that? There was 12 seconds on the shot clock when he started this sequence. So that was ugly. After that, he made a 3 and he was just fine. Is what he is, as I probably say too much. He's got some offensive skills. He's got some size and athleticism, and he was fine. He's not good, but like he played. Again, they're just trying to get some offensive juice, and there is no offensive juice. Like this game started with the Grizzlies making their first 3 3-pointers. And another disturbing trend, I mean, maybe it's not disturbing that you made threes, but I think it's disturbing that the Grizzlies get blown out in games where they make lots of 3-pointers. They made 18 3-pointers. They hit 40% of their threes for the second straight game and were not competitive. They were not competitive against the Timberwolves. This game was not competitive. The Grizzlies now, on the season, winless when they make 15 or more threes. That feels impossible. They're 0-6 when they make 15 or more threes. I mean, 18 threes, that's an elite number for the Grizzlies. They made 18 threes, hit 40% of them. They were not in the game. The Grizzlies have only made 15 threes in a game while also shooting 40% or better 44 times. Coming into this season, they were 33-8 when they did so. This season, they're 0-3. They've lost 2 straight. So I don't know how much to highlight just the injuries. Maybe this offense will make more sense. Obviously, it'll be better when Ja Morant's back. It'll be better when Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard are available to play. But like, for whatever reason, we're getting what we would call good performances from our 2 best players, our 2 all-star level players. And you're getting them playing well in most games. I mean, Jaren's had some duds. Bane's had a couple duds. But generally, we keep having these games where Jaren and Desmond go nuts and no one else gives you anything. Like, I would think Roddy could have some scoring games, or Santi Aldama should be scoring in double digits. Santi should be averaging like 15 points a game, and he's not scoring. And maybe it's just a total lack of confidence for the team. Maybe the lack of confidence is contagious. So I don't know how much to place at like the coaching staff or the new coach, Patrick St. Andrews, brought in to be the offensive coordinator or to run the offense, whatever we call it in basketball. But I am a little bit panicked about the Grizzlies offense because we've now seen 3 of the last 4 games. 3 of the last 4 games, they've only had 3 players in double figures. That's weird. That's very strange in today's NBA. And in the other game, the Timberwolves game, they had 4. Like, no one can score outside of our main guys, and it's no way to live life. I mean, Desmond Bane with 28 points shoots a good percentage. He has 5 turnovers. Jaren Jackson Jr., like I said, 41 points. Shoots a really good percentage. Everybody else made 15 field goal attempts. Like Derrick Rose has been starting because we don't have any better options. Derrick Rose actually made a 3, snapped a streak of 11, I think it was 11 straight misses, hadn't made a 3 in his last 5 games. He hits an open corner 3, but besides that, only made 1 out of 6 field goal attempts. So he's 2 for 7. 7 points, 4 assists, 2 turnovers. I mean, he and Bismack, I don't know how NBA bodies work or NBA veterans' bodies work, but to this podcaster, those guys need a week off. They are visibly lagging out there. So if Derrick Rose doesn't give you an offensive burst, David Roddy finishes with 8 points, starting once again, 1 out of 5 on 3-pointers. He's not giving it to you. Aldama, like I said, 6 points, 2 out of 5 on threes. And then your bench, your bench is all hustle glue guys, not scorers, basically. Like Jalen Noel's supposed to be instant offense, but it makes sense they went away from him. They got to take away those training wheels. Somebody else has to step up. Conchar, frankly, had a pretty good game, I thought. Just does Conchar things. Made 2 3-pointers. Got 6 rebounds. Got a block. Got a steal. Got a couple of assists. But you're seeing it game after game where you're getting nothing from the bench. You're getting nothing from the non-star players. Meanwhile, Jaden Hardy's going off. Derek Lively's posting 16 points and 16 rebounds. I mean, that's probably the trade-off of starting Santi, and that's also maybe the trade-off of playing Jaren at the 5 a lot. Like, Bismack did not play many minutes. Xavier Tillman, he did not play many minutes. They went with Jaren at the 5 a lot. The benefit, Jaren comfortably beating slower guys and or scoring on smaller guys. He scores 41 points. The flip side of that is maybe that the Mavericks are having whatever they want in the paint. Derek Lively finishes with 16 points and 16 rebounds. A little bit more on Xavier Tillman's game. The guy is struggling. I mean, I hoped his pretty solid performance against the Timberwolves off the bench, where he picked up that career-high tying 4 steals, maybe that would get him back in his rhythm, in his routine of being a solid contributor. No, he looks just a mess. He had a play in the third quarter. He played like a minute in the second half or so. He got put in the third quarter. Someone threw it to him underneath the basket where he was open. He just needs to go up and dunk to finish it. He's struggling with his confidence, apparently. He doesn't dunk. He tries a reverse layup. Dwight Powell sort of blocks it. There's a late whistle, so he gets the benefit of a foul call. I don't know if the foul call was right or not, but like that was a play he should have scored. Ends up getting fouled. Okay, goes to the free throw line, bricks both free throws. The first free throw, one of the worst free throw misses I've ever seen. I mean, it was like worse than what Steven Adams does. It was way long and off to the left. So I don't know what's going on with Xavier Tillman. He's been a disappointment for most of, recent weeks when he's played. And then you just have this entire roster where it's like, that's pretty disappointing. That's pretty disappointing. I guess we desperately need Luke Kennard to come back. And like, this is where I fall back into my despair. I'm going to pull out of it. I'm not going to steer into it. But like, thinking of Luke Kennard as your savior, Luke Kennard's not that good, guys. He's okay. He's a bench player in the NBA. So it's tough. You look at the whole roster, and it's not super encouraging. The one thing I do get encouraged about, and you guys know what I'm going to talk about, it's Vince Williams Jr. Vince Williams Jr. played 9 minutes in the first half. He did not score. He's not a scorer. I was very pleased with his defensive play in the first half. He got matched up on Luka. I thought was doing a good job on him. I was very frustrated that he did not sub back in. When Zaire Williams came in, I mean, I said I understood going with Zaire because he needed offense, but also I was like, why is Vince Williams Jr. losing minutes? He's one of the only guys playing hard. He's one of the only guys who rebounds well and defends well, and he's a pretty solid passer. And then in the second half, honestly, I was just pleased that Vince got to play the final 16 minutes. Like for me, I'm sad we're losing. I'm a little bit distraught. Maybe I'm just coping and disassociating by not being more upset at the losses. But I was like, hey, you're playing Vince Williams Jr. I'm a happy guy. And over the final 16 minutes, I think you had to love the energy Vince was playing with and the way he was going at Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic and Vince Williams Jr. were getting into it. Luka was being checked full court. Vince was picking him up 94 feet. There was a lot of times where Luka was just kind of resting, and some of it was the Mavericks were winning, so Luka does not have to go 100%. The Mavericks were comfortably winning. Luka was resting at half court. Vince Williams Jr. was standing within arm's length of him at half court, and Luka was fine with the Mavericks playing 4-on-4. It's like, whatever, I'll just stand over here. There also was some chirping going on back and forth. There were some like flops exchanged. This also was a pretty bad look, I felt like, for the officials. There was an offensive foul called on Vince Williams Jr. where Luka flopped. This is right after Jaren had flopped and Vince Williams Jr. had flopped and had not gotten calls. Well, then Luka flops on some contact. They call a foul on Vince Williams Jr. Taylor Jenkins challenges this one and gets it overturned. Actually, this was the second half. I can't remember if I said it was the first half or second half. So that happens. This was part of it. Then there was another rebounding play where Vince... he flopped. He might get fined. He went flying off Luka contact. Lauren Holdkamp, the referee, said, nope, not a foul. And then a very similar play, basically the next time down, Luka, this was funny. If you guys are watching the game closely, I'm sure you noticed it too. Luka did the same thing. He felt some contact from Vince. He goes flying and flops. This time he gets rewarded with a foul. Anyways, these guys were chirping back and forth. Luka at one point in the fourth quarter just tries to take him one-on-one, and you could tell Like Luka had been a willing passer most of this time, just being, playing team basketball. But you could tell Vince was getting under his skin and Luka wanted to score on him. And Vince forced him into an air ball step back jumper. Afterwards, you could see Luka on the broadcast pointing at the scoreboard. And then a few possessions later, Luka gets teed up, apparently for just this trash talking. The referee, James Williams, said that Luka started it all. After the game, it was kind of funny. Luka was asked about Vince Williams Jr., and Luka just said he was talking trash in so many words the whole game. And Luka told Vince that he wished they could play one-on-one, and that's what the referee heard and gave him a tech. So Luka said he wishes they were just allowed to talk, and he thought Vince Williams Jr. was a good defender. Some of that's just kind of the pat answer that you give. I think Luka realized with the stuff he was saying, he needs to throw in a courteous, oh yeah, he's a really good defender at the end of it. I did think after the game, I loved hearing Desmond Bane, when prompted, talk about Vince Williams Jr.'s play. Just said like that guy's got the dog in him basically, and he's the kind of guy you love playing with. And so Vince finishes the game with 10 points and 9 rebounds. Again, a bright spot for me. Vince made 2 out of 3 3-pointers, also had a tip in. So his shot chart continues looking very analytically minded. Only shots at the bucket and 3-pointers. Also, by the way, according to NBA.com's matchup data, I thought this was interesting. Luka was only 2 out of 9 on field goal attempts when he was guarded by Vince Williams Jr. Now, those stats aren't that reliable, but according to the tracking data, whenever Vince was the closest defender, Luka in this game was 2 out of 9. Also, if you want to look at it just based on like some on-off numbers, Luka Doncic scored 35 points, but he scored 21 of them in the 20 minutes he played where Vince was on the bench. In the 23 to 24 minutes where they were both on the court together, Luka only scored 14 points, was 4 out of 11 on his field goal attempts. So Vince Williams Jr. continues being a bright spot for me, a guy I enjoy watching play, and who I think has convinced a lot of us fans, like he is the Grizzlies' best perimeter defender. I don't think anyone's arguing that. I mean, it's supposed to be Marcus Smart when Marcus Smart comes back. Maybe a healthy Marcus Smart, you would think, would still be the best option there. But among the available healthy bodies, I think Vince Williams Jr. continues to be the best defensive option. And I still stand him being the starter. Like, start him at the 3 until Marcus Smart returns. He's a great rebounder. He's an okay playmaker as far as like a secondary or tertiary playmaker. But like, he can guard the other team's best player, and he rebounds well. He's a connective piece for Desmond and Jaren being on the court together. Maybe move Roddy and his offensive strengths to the bench to help out the bench unit. I mean, maybe there's no fixing it. That's, again, what I say whenever they change the rotation around. I'm like, I understand that it's frustrating, and they are, in fact, grasping at straws because they don't know what to do. Like, there was minutes in the fourth quarter where it was Conchar, Zaire, and Vince Williams Jr. playing all at the same time. We think of those guys being in a competition for minutes. Well, this time, they played at the same time alongside Desmond and Jaren. I mean, I don't know if there's times you can give, like, Rose and Bismack games off. I mean, the games are a little bit spaced out until Ja Morant returns. You got that game on Wednesday at the Rockets, on Friday at home against the Rockets, the next Monday against the Thunder. But, like, I still would imagine it might be worth considering sitting one of those guys down for a game and just going with your wings. Just being like, all right, what if we play them all at the same time? Could it be any worse? Who knows? Let's wrap up the show by just looking at the upcoming schedule and some of the injury news that we have. So again, Wednesday night road game at the Rockets. These next 2 games are so important if you're going to make a run at the play-in, because you're chasing the Rockets and you have a chance to pick up 2 wins and also give a team you're chasing 2 losses. You can pick up 2 games in the standings with these matchups against the Rockets. Unfortunately, the Rockets look a lot better than the Grizzlies. The Rockets won again on Monday night. They are 10-1 at home. So that's a big challenge for the Grizzlies. And then on Friday, when you play them at home, well, guess what? The Grizzlies are 1-10 at home. It's just a staggering number. I mean, the Pistons still have a worse home record, but that's an unbelievably bad home record for the Grizzlies right now. But of course, Ja Morant is returning. Just going to miss 3 more games. Ja Morant has posted on social media counting down the games and counting down the days. That's given me enough confidence to go ahead and schedule a Grizzlies watch party. If you're anywhere near Nashville, Tennessee, next Tuesday night, December 19th, the Ja Morant debut game against the Pelicans. Come out to Noble's Beer Hall. I will be there giving away lots of Grizzlies prizes and goodies. So join some other Grizzlies fans in the Middle Tennessee area. Come watch the Grizzlies with me. But we got 3 more games, no Ja Morant, and it's going to be rough. As far as like Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard, I mean, certainly they're going to come back soon, you would hope. The Luke Kennard news, of course, on December 3rd, they said his return would be within 2 to 3 weeks. If that's accurate, he would return sometime between December 17th and the 24th. Of course, that Thunder game next Monday is on December 18th, so that's in the window. The Pelicans game is the 19th. There's a Pacers game on the 21st. Hopefully Luke Kennard comes back sometime around then. And then the Marcus Smart injury. Our last update, as far as I can tell, was on November 17th, when they sent out a press release saying he would return within 3 to 5 weeks. Now, it's been 3.5 weeks since that press release went out. 4 weeks from then will be this Thursday. So Marcus Smart's return should be imminent, but he has not popped up on the injury report as anything other than out. We know based on previous return to play situations, you might get a doubtful and then a questionable. And if you go doubtful to questionable, the questionable actually means they're going to play. So fingers crossed, maybe later today on Tuesday, December 12th, we can get a doubtful for Marcus Smart. But I got to say, I'm doubtful that might occur. But Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard are on their way back. Ja Morant, we know, is coming back December 19th. The who returns first, Marcus or Ja? It's coming down to the wire. Anyways, last thing here. There's this Ja Morant court case going on, and I'm not following this case closely, and I'm not a court reporter, and I don't know what to really say about it other than if you're not getting the social media updates about this thing, it seems surreal and actually comical. I mean, a lot of the Memphis reporters are there, like tweeting from the courtroom, and a lot of it's like they just testified about how you're supposed to check the ball in pickup. The judge says she knows how to check the ball. She's played basketball before. Apparently, there was a time where Ja Morant told the judge how to mute her Zoom call. It's all very strange, very surreal over apparently a altercation, a little fight that broke out at a pickup basketball game. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm not really reporting on the situation. If you want more of those updates, I guess follow reporters who are in Memphis. Best of luck to everyone involved, I guess. Let's hope for a speedy and quick resolution. Anyways, that's the whole episode for today. If you want to support this show, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. A huge thank you to all of those of you who have already signed up and who already do that. Please subscribe to the Grits and Grinds YouTube channel. Even if you only listen to this show as an audio podcast, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Anyways, hope you have a great Tuesday. I will talk to you soon. Go Grizz.